One of the things I look for every year is the announcement of who is the state historian. Matter of fact, few things are as important to me as who the state historian is. So imagine when I found out that our friend Patty Limerick is now the state historian, which leads me to one question. What the hell is a state historian? I never knew we had one.
You have one, and you're very fortunate.
I
mean, unbelievably
My life is
fortunate.
much better.
Right. And you've had one for years, different people. No particularly set job description, so that may have been where we lost you, as you were probably looking for the job description, and you may not have found the job description.
I was looking for the pay. What, is the pay good?
The pay is amazing. It's very much, well, it's basically all zeros. Zeros, because in fact, the University of Colorado is one cool school, and I am recognized as being a citizen with something to offer to the state. So my position actually supports, the University of Colorado position supports my role.
Who bestows the title state historian?
The governor. The governor.
And this is something we've had in the past and we've had in the future, so it wasn't just made up.
No, it was not made up. Though you could make up worse things if you got to making things up. It seems like a good thing to make up, but you didn't have to do that. There's been one affiliated with the State Historical Society, History Colorado. There was a gentleman in the mid-20th century, Leroy Hafen, who edited everything. Actually, you would like him. Well, you won't know him because he's passed away, but he took diaries and letters of the Mexican-American War and put them out where you can find them and read them and get firsthand experience.
So incredible.
He was one spectacular historian.
Right, I know you as a historian with the Center for the American West. Yeah, I got that. But also, I just imagine you as part of CU. And also, you're one of the rare historians that actually does stuff. And what I mean by does stuff is not just, put out some academic, but you actually do a great job of applying history. You work. That's the word. You work with Indian tribes. You work with working people on energy issues. You really applied historian.
Applied is exactly the word.
Is a term. Give me a description of applied history. Applied
history is when you just say no to being sequestered and quarantined and sent off with other academic historians. You could do that. I did that for a few years, so I know what that's like. You don't do that, but instead you keep those ties so that when you see a contemporary dilemma where people are running around in an agitated way, not knowing how they got to their dilemma, then you mobilize what you know, but also what your excellent comrades who are historians know, so that you can go out and make that a better situation. So, for instance, this has no particular regional qualities, but I think I am playing an important role right now in helping with the 50th anniversary commemoration of the Vietnam War. I think I have built bridges between this commemoration, which is to honor and respect the veterans and to give them the hearing that many of them did not have. I have built bridges between academic historians who know the history of the war, know the history of Vietnam, with the Pentagon. With
the real people whose lives are touched. You had this wonderful idea for a historian SWAT team. Now, I like this idea because historians are quiet little peaceful people. So the image of a historic SWAT team of, here, watch out, we better call in the historians. When would we call in the historians?
Well, this is my dream over decades, but the sad episode with the Gold King mine and the Animas River turning not a good color, that's where I just thought.
It was Broncos orange, so that's not bad.
It's kind of a presaging of what was to come in the season, I guess. When that happened, that's when I first went out into the public saying that's what we need is a SWAT team. When we have a dilemma like that, we should certainly bring in the water monitors and the people who are going to build treatment plants and so on, but with them should come the historians who say this is a long-running historical problem. We had mining booms in this region. People probably know that we had mining booms. They may not know how many abandoned mines were left behind with water treatment issues, that water pools up in these areas and it becomes acidic and it becomes really a management problem. You can't just say, well, that colorful old era of the mines, that's over now.
And here's some nice photographs, but you can actually say, here's what happened, here's why it happened, and you ought to, before you go charging in to fix the problem, maybe you ought to talk to some people who specialize in what happened way back when.
Right, the origins and the scale, because it is enormous, it's not just one site by a long shot, but also my dream, which happens every now and then, is that if you get the longer story of history in an incident like the Gold King mine, then you do not have to waste your time blaming each other, condemning each other, because you were not alive when this started.
Right.
And so the ridiculous way in which we all instantly turn on each other to find out who we're going to be very angry at and who we're going to denounce, and it seems to satisfy human beings. They seem to enjoy that. But it's not productive, and it doesn't move us towards solutions to do that.
Focusing on the American West, I mean, this is my state. This is my home. I love Colorado history. I love being part of Colorado. I love seeing it change. Sometimes it breaks my heart. Sometimes it doesn't. What's different about Colorado history? What gives it its special flavor? If you could,
Well,
I mean, why?
Okay, I'm not going to go quite as far as you would like, because you cross the state border and you're still in a really interesting area.
Right.
So
I mean, the West. The
okay,
Colorado
so the interior,
West.
the Rocky Mountain West. The landscape is astounding, and it is astounding in ways beyond measure. Just a short drive, and you're in a different landscape, and you're just consciously getting reoriented everywhere you go. And each time that you look up, it's an astounding moment. It could be you look up and you see mountains. It could be you look up and you see a horizon that goes into the far, far distance, and it's
flat.
Yeah. So, but it stretches the mind, and it's better for the mind to be stretched. A mind that does not get stretched is a weakened mind.
Is it that history here is more accessible? That is, it's not England where we have thousands of years. You work with Indian tribes, but also, the history of Colorado as a state. It goes back to something we can almost touch. There's the artifacts are there.
Well, the Mesa Verde is we'll just go with that. That's a long, long history, and to give the privilege to the British people of having a long history, that's really ignoring what we have here of many, many interesting tribal affiliations and groups who knew this place, and so we wouldn't cut that out. It is something that we can go back just 6 or 7 generations and be at really the formation of the place we know and have. So personally, I think there's some real power and opportunity in that we can't say, well, we're just trapped by history. This is the way that we live with each other, the assumptions we have about each other. We just inherit thousands of years of these customs. No, we actually have within memory of extending it back a few generations, within records, we have a way to say, oh, this is how we got to where we are. Well, maybe we want to change some of those things.
I feel that way politically, in that the older I get, the more I can see the generations of Colorado political activists and Colorado politicians. Some of them that are in office now and that I work with, their father or mother was in office, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and they have a touch, and you can see the generations touch. I can see it in politics. It happens throughout the West. If there was somebody in Colorado history that you'd want to go out and just spend an evening with, this is a person you want to go out and really tip back a few beers. I mean, who's that political figure?
Well, I'm going to go with Wynkoop, with Edward Wynkoop, to start, because there he is, Army officer caught in the terrible tensions between Indians and whites while the Civil War was going on, and attention of the nation is elsewhere, and he is a person who's really in the middle. He's really
here.
Yes, and of course we walk on Wynkoop Street all the time, and so we're thinking of him. But he was
nobody's thinking of him because nobody knows why the street is named after him.
Well, that's because they don't pay enough attention to the state historian, which my hope. I mean, I have dreams, which may be too ridiculous, but why can't I have a little booth on Wynkoop and a sign that says the state historian is here, and then people can
say, who was Wynkoop?
Or I can say to them, do you know who Wynkoop is? And I'm sure I will find
1 out of 5,000
over several years who would say
so
that. But
why would you want to tip a few back with him?
Because he was in the middle. Because
what did he do?
He was not a participant. Sand Creek. He was trying to prevent the calamity that became the Sand Creek massacre. He was trying to be attentive to misunderstandings. He was trying to avoid a calamity. And I would like to be in the company of somebody who really tried to avoid a calamity. Now, he failed, and then he did not walk away from. I mean, he tried to be a person of conscience who stayed in there trying to navigate through a terrible, terrible legacy from that incident. So somebody who tried to hold off a very terrible brutal encounter of people, and who tried to stay in there as a, didn't wash his hands of humanity. I mean, so you said this question.
He's a fascinating
Oh my
character.
goodness, yeah. And so who knows why I picked him, but he was the first who came to mind, so I went with him. Shall we try another, or shall we just?
I want to meet the original Adolf Coors. Find out.
You know, that's so curious. I was about to say Coors. It's really, it's an interesting thing.
I mean, you talk about a family name that's part of Colorado
history.
history.
You said beer. You said we were going to have some
maybe
beer,
that's
so
what.
the one we're thinking about.
But also, when I spoke with Pete Coors, he wasn't too certain about the whole history of Adolf Coors himself. I mean, amazing stuff. All right, talk to me a little bit about when you say applied history. You're involved not only in Indian affairs, but also in energy. And there's a tie between what you do with Indian tribes, what you do with energy, and what you do for working people. What is that connection?
Well, the connection is, again, this dream that if we're thinking about where we are in time and how we got here, we will be better able to deal with our dilemmas. So I have invented a very excellent phrase that no one else seems to recognize as excellent, which is, for the last 100 years in this region, and really nationwide, but we have lived in, ready, the era of improbable comfort made possible by a truly astonishing but taken for granted infrastructure.
I love that. It rolls right off the tongue.
It's a
But you're right.
household phrase waiting to happen. And like the third time you say it, you have it. But anyway, that's what we've been doing. So we live in a state of comfort. Not every single one of us, for heaven's sake. There's plenty of people in hard
But
times.
historically, it's luxurious.
You
and I are warm, and we have
exactly.
lights.
We take
it for granted.
Faucet. We turn on a thermostat. We are crabby when we have a power failure. Well, this is a heck of a thing. I'll call somebody and complain about this. And then you have a phone that you could call people if you've charged it. So anyway, so it is something that's so easy to take for granted. And finally, it's not a responsible way to live, because you were at your site of consumption and you were very distant from the site of the production of that resource. So at the Center of the American West, we have really tried to put those together to say, this is what you're using, this is where it came from, there are people where it came from, and you are in relationship to those people.
Those people who have Indian reservations on those are pumping out natural gas. They're the ones who have the pipelines that are going to this generator that gives you the comfort you need.
Right. The roustabouts, the people who are on those platforms, those are people that we are in relationship to.
Almost out of time, half a minute. People want to get involved with the organization or learn more about history. Where do they go?
They go patricia.limerick@colorado.edu, and they give me ideas for programs and exhibits. They give me thoughts. We can't act on every single one of them by a long shot, but I want to find where people are converging. So give me your ideas about things about Colorado history that you want to know more about.
Give out that email address.
patricia.limerick@colorado.edu.
Spectacular.
Thank you.
Patty, always fun. Thank you. Listen for me on KHOW Radio. Check out the Independence Institute, independenceinstitute.org, and we'll see you next week.